Well, good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar featuring the Griffin-Spalding County School System in Georgia. My name is Andy Schaefer, President of Defined, and it is my pleasure to be hosting today's webinar, From Compliance to Career Readiness, how Griffin-Spalding is bringing Georgia's top state for talent initiative to life. I am joined today by my colleague, Nikki Bilder, who leads the Defined partnership efforts, not only with Griffin-Spalding, but with school systems across Georgia. For those of you who may be new to Defined, we are passionate about connecting classrooms to careers through deeper learning and helping students apply their learning to real-world situations. Whether they are learning a geometry standard in 7th grade or exploring career pathways, we have students step into authentic roles to solve problems and publish their work. Our goal is to have students experience as many career situations as possible. So when they walk across the stage with their diploma, they are also leaving high school with a really good idea of what they want to do next, and whether that be the workforce, the military, higher education, or whatever is right for them. So before we get started, just a few quick housekeeping items. Please utilize the chat for any questions that you have, and we'll do our best to get to all of them. Also want to make sure that everyone knows they will get a copy of today's webinar. And you also have the opportunity to try out all of the resources that Nikki will share with you. You just have to reply to the email and let her know. And before I introduce our guest speaker, I also want just to share a little bit more about some of the topics that we'll be exploring today. And I'll have the agenda slide up for you. But in Griffin-Spalding today, what we're doing is we're going to be talking a little bit about their approach to top state for talent implementation, the documentation and accountability support that holds it up, defined aptitude tests for students and how that plays a part, career exploration and pathway guidance for grades 6 through 12, student readiness tracking. And so overall, today we will discuss how Griffin-Spalding is operationalizing top state through talent through a connected strategy for implementation, documentation, career readiness, and student support. So I'm delighted today to introduce our guest speaker who will help us to navigate through these topics today. Dr. Kimberly Sheppard is the Career, Technical, and Agricultural Education Coordinator for the Griffin-Spalding County School System. Dr. Sheppard has a focus in online blended learning from the University of West Georgia. Now in her 22nd year in education, she has run the gamut from teaching elementary to college courses, working as a district personalized learning coach in school improvement for high schools, and now, as mentioned, CTAE Coordinator in the Griffin-Spalding County School System, where she focuses her efforts on empowering students to work, lead, and succeed. She is passionate about integrating technology that supports the curriculum, especially in CTAE courses. Welcome, Kimberly. We are so excited to have you with us today.
Thank you, Andy. I'm excited to be here.
Great. And well, to get started, maybe we can talk a little bit about, Kimberly, about, how this came to be, House Bill 192, Georgia's Top State for Talent Initiative. I'll turn it over to you to get us going.
Okay. Well, we are actually really excited about the Top State for Talent bill. So this is something that's been in progress for a little while, and it's really focuses on the employability and the soft skills that the students will need, and just their critical skills for not only high school, but also for being college and career ready. And so we didn't want this initiative to just be something just to check the box. We really wanted students to have meaningful experiences and take something away with them that would help them to really truly develop those skills in authentic ways. And so that was something that was really important to us. And as we were going through the process of a curriculum update for our district, our team was looking at several resources, Defined being one of them. And as we were going through the options, we just kept coming across resources that would be a great fit for supporting our students through that Top State for Talent. And so the state has some fantastic resources that they've implemented in the last 2 years, and we wanted to just kind of add on to that through that project-based learning approach. And so this was something that, looking at all of the options, this was one that really stood out to us.
Great. Well, thank you so much for sharing that. And now maybe we talk about some of the specifics about Griffin-Spalding's approach.
Sure. So when we really started talking to Defined and having that conversation with Nikki as to, this is what the state's going to require, and we're excited about that. We just want to make sure we have a plan in place. So we created a path, and that path is mainly looking at the plan in place for the Top State for Talent, the strategy, what was required, then looking at all of the documentation and arranging everything into the Defined platform. And so they created a custom curriculum just for us. And that was fantastic because this is something that anybody in the state would be able to access using that defined curriculum. And then that all of the components in there, we were really strategic, and I really appreciated their thought in the process of making sure that the experiences would benefit the students and be something that the students could take away. And then looking at it from the next perspective of for us, we've got to report on that data and monitor that data. So really harnessing that. And I really appreciated the depth that they went to for us to make sure that we would be able to keep track of all of those components. And so, Andy, if you'll take a look at the next slide. So
Sure.
really, it was just, like I said, that planning in place and looking at all those components. So I really thought that it was fantastic to be able to have a team and make sure that we had all of those pieces in place. So we met multiple times to make sure that the 6th through 12th grade had exactly what was required for the state. And not only for the state, but they've actually added some additional bonuses, some resources that would make it just a little bit more meaningful for students and to help them to take some of these pieces away and be useful. So I love the portfolio component of Defined that allows students to be able to access that even after they've graduated, but to take those pieces and share it with businesses. So I think that's such a key piece for students. For us, being able to keep track of all of those components in one place is huge.
Fantastic. Well, is there anything else that you would like to share, Dr. Sheppard, prior to me turning it over to my colleague Nikki to give us a little tour about what some of the resources we're talking about?
Sure. So we are going to be using it for that project-based learning in the classroom, but this will also be the component for our Top State for Talent. And then the other thing that we're going to be using too, and this was so impressive to me, was their career interest survey. And it usually takes somewhere around 15 to maybe 20 minutes for a student to go through that process. And our team took it as well, and we were impressed with the results because it gave us some key information, and it took us to the data for which schools would be a good fit, and they gave us the information on those schools and which components were in there that for careers and on ONET. So I loved those pieces as well. And for our students in work-based learning, we've got this now to use for them for mock interviews, for students actually working on job-related skills and getting some practice in prior to actually starting in the workplace. And that's something that's really huge for us. We wanted to make sure that the students that we're sending into the workplace are ready. So those resources, it just gives us not necessarily a one-stop shop, but it does give us a one place that we're able to send a lot of our teachers to provide that resource for all of our students to be able to access. And that was so huge for me because it's something that we can all benefit from. So our teachers have already started working with it this semester some, and they're really excited about what they're seeing and already jumping in with some of the activities. So.
Well, fantastic. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Sheppard. And we're going to now take the time to dive into a little bit of some of these resources. Of course, there's not enough time today to show everything, but I'm going to go ahead and actually, I'm going to stop sharing now, Nikki, but my colleague Nikki, who I mentioned before, is working with school systems around Georgia, is going to share some of those resources that Dr. Sheppard talked about and how they're coming to life for teachers and for students in the Griffin-Spalding school system.
Thanks so much, Andy, and thank you, Dr. Sheppard. It has been such a pleasure and so exciting to create these custom courses for 6 through 12 to target these goals with the Top State for Talent initiatives. And so I'm excited to share that. I'm going to first do a brief overview of our services, and that way you can see all that Defined does. And then at the end, I will show you those custom courses so you can see how all those pieces come together to really provide that support for each of those individual grade bands. So at Defined Learning, as Andy shared, we really want to target that career-connected learning and not just in pathway and cluster CTE world, but also how do we tie that into academics? And so that is where our Defined Learning library comes in. This is a way for teachers to be able to embed real-world learning into the academic day. So no matter what subject you're focusing on, science, math, ELA, social studies, all these fun options below with art integration, world language. You have project options that are aligned to your Georgia state standards, but they're done through that career lens. So these projects are going to provide the why behind learning for students to really help make that connection for them. All of our content is K through 12. If I click here into middle school, earth and space science, you'll see that you have this unit outline here on the side. So you've got all your units of study for earth and space science, and now you have these great performance-based assessments to be able to showcase that student knowledge, but tie in that real-world component. So let's take a look at a project. So in this project, students are going to step into the role of an industrial development geologist working with rivers and sediments. In our projects, they are ready to go and pre-made for the teachers, which makes it really great with that planning piece. But you can customize, and I'll show you that in a moment, if you want to put specifics into the project or add some finishing touches. But all of our projects always start with an introduction video explaining first, what does an industrial development geologist do? And then we have this real world connection video. I love this component. This is the piece where you get to hear from real career professionals in that field about how they're using these skills from science in their day-to-day job to make that connection. You can see here, I customized these questions. So there are check-in questions throughout the way. But as an educator, you have that option to add in a local river or a dam so that the students can make that connection and make it more focused on specifically what you're targeting there. Those can be done synchronously, asynchronously, and then every project has this GRASS model. So that's from that understanding by design method from Jay McTighe and Grant Wiggins. It gives the students a goal, a role, an audience, and a situation.
Your goal is to review a potential location for a dam on a local river. Your review needs to examine the sediments carried by the river and the potential buildup of those sediments over time if a dam is constructed. You will need to consider several factors to make this dam beneficial for the community and minimally impactful of the environment. Your role as a geologist working with a team of experts to identify the potential impact of dams on an ecosystem and the regional economy. Your team will need to examine the various geological and geographic features upstream. Your audience will be the government agency associated with dam construction, who represents the community where the dam may be located. This agency is
So just playing you a little piece of the video, so you can see how we set the stage for the students with that hypothetical role, their goal, their audience, and then their situation. And now we have this hands-on product creation. So we give choices in our defined projects. Students can pick based on interest. Teachers can assign one if they're targeting a specific skill, but there's going to be anywhere from 2 to 5 when you look into our STEAM projects. So the students have the option to either create a diagram, or they're going to be doing an informational poster. And their last option is to do a demonstration. You'll see that on all of these products as well, rubrics are ready to go and attach. So that makes it nice and easy for the educator. The student knows what's required of them. And when the teachers mark those rubrics, that automatically goes into their virtual portfolio that Kimberly commented on. So nice way to have all those artifacts at the end to show those student experiences. So that is just one project within Defined Learning. There are hundreds of options aligned to your state standards. There are also computer science and STEM options. So folks in Georgia do like to use these as well to target some of those computer science initiatives. Again, K through 12 options. And then Defined Careers is where we take a step away from that academic side. And now we are rooted in those clusters and pathways, but it is still project-based. So it allows the students to not just learn about the career, but to really have a day in the life of experience. Everything in Defined Careers is also K through high school. So you've got the options for age-appropriate content, K-5, middle school versus high school. And all of the courses are going to be aligned to the clusters and then narrowed down into those pathways as well. So let's dive into a project in Defined Careers. We're going to look at a healthcare project with preventative medicine physicians. So in these projects, the students learn all about that cluster and that pathway, and then they always have that GRASS model. So I'm going to jump to that piece so you can see how the students are going to step into the role as this preventative medicine physician.
Your goal is to counsel patients to correct an unhealthy lifestyle or habits that may not be conducive to good health. Your role is that of a physician who has specialized in preventative medicine. Your audience are your patients who have been identified as at risk for developing health conditions like diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, or heart disease. These patients have been referred to you by their primary care doctor. And here's the situation. All doctors practice.
So you can see how we're setting the stage for the students in that GRASS video, and now they're going to go ahead and create their products. So for this, they have two options. They're either doing a top 10 video on how to prevent that heart disease or creating a healthy heart brochure. So students will have those product options always because we do like to allow them to pick based on that area of interest. And then you will see as well down below in those products, you've got those rubrics attached as well for any of those expectations and for the teachers to be able to mark those products as they come in. So now we're going to take a look at some of the additional pieces in Defined Careers. In addition to all of the courses, we also have virtual internships in each of the clusters. These are going to dive even deeper, really work on those durable skills that students find in the workplace, mock phone calls, mock interviews, workplace communication, collaboration. And then we do have future ready specific skill courses. So this is a great way to target those things like time management, networking, resolving conflict, communication. In addition to those pieces, we do also have Defined at Work. So we have a whole simulated job board where students can search for different roles in different areas geographically or search a company that they might be interested in. But here for, this role, we're looking at the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. The students are going to be applying over here in Atlanta, Georgia. You can see the requirements, the compensation, and what they can actually do is do a mock application to submit a cover letter and a resume and get AI feedback. And they can actually do some simulated interview prep, which I know Dr. Sheppard shared a little bit about. We've got grades 6 through 10 and 11 plus.
Hi there.
And they will
Thanks for
have
taking
an
the
AI
time to interview
professional
with
that
us
uses
today.
the STAR method.
I'll be giving you
to
a series
actually
of
work
interview
through
questions
multiple
about the
questions
position.
with them. So that's just a little high level overview of the services, but how does this all come together now in the Top State for Talent bill? So we worked with Dr. Sheppard and her team at Griffin-Spalding, and using the Top State for Talent Career Advisement Checklist for grades 6 through 12, we created custom courses to support the specific requirements for each of those grade bands. So throughout these courses for 6 through 12, Griffin-Spalding will be using our career interest survey and also our deeper aptitude assessment. And both of those options are really going to be great to gather that data and customize the student career exploration experience throughout these courses. Our aptitude test, which was partially funded by the Tennessee Department of Education, helps students to understand their unique talents and to make more informed decisions about their academic and future career paths, leading to that higher engagement and those better post-graduation outcomes. So let's dive into just a couple of these courses to show how they're aligned specifically to follow the House Bill 192 requirements for grades 6 through 12. So I'm going to go into ninth grade. So what you saw in Defined Learning, how we have the unit outline here, you'll see that same in this course. And when we click into the course, the students are going to, I'm sorry, I forgot to say another piece. What you'll also notice is Unit 1, Unit 2, these are directly aligned to the sections 9.1 through 9.5 in the career advisement process. And so what you'll see is as the students go through, we will follow those requirements specifically. So the students will begin by completing the career matching assessment or the aptitude test to gather data on their specific careers of interest. And then next, the students will create and utilize their Georgia's Future account. And in Unit 3, the ninth graders will begin exploring and completing at least 3 different careers or occupations within Defined Careers. And as you saw earlier, these projects are not only going to educate the students on that pathway, but give them the opportunity to really truly have a day in the life of activity in those careers of interest, helping them make more informed decisions. In Unit 4, the students will review and revise their individual college and career plan to ensure post-secondary readiness. And then finally, Unit 5, be notified of that Georgia dual enrollment program. So I'm going to click into one of these just so that we can see how they have specific modules for each student to work through. So this is going to be providing additional information for the students. They're going to have videos to watch, helpful vocabulary that will support them along the way as well, research materials. They're going to have a four-year academic plan in this one, so they can actually go in and start that four-year academic plan. There's documents ready there for those students to create that. There are check-in questions as well. And then, there are check-in questions here. And then at the end, you can see that by uploading these pieces, all of this is going to be tracked and measured. So everything that the students are doing along the way when they're submitting their work and their answers is tracking. And that way the teachers have all of this reporting side on the end as well. So I'm going to take a peek at another one of the courses. Let's look at grade 11, for example. So you can see, again, this will match up with that top state for talent requirements for those 11th grade students. And they're going to begin by exploring various paths for post-secondary options. They're going to utilize our hands-on career courses, our virtual internships, our AI job prep features. And then in Unit 2, the students will review and revise their individual college and career plans to guide course registration and ensure post-secondary readiness. And then the 11th graders will research at least one state or local workforce development initiative as well as receive notice of the Georgia Dual Enrollment Program and Georgia's Match Program. So these custom courses will truly provide the educators with a streamlined way to implement the top state for talent activities while tracking that student completion and progress every step of the way. And in addition, Defined offers a variety of other reporting features so that they can keep all the career readiness data in one place, including these career assessment reports for students, as well as the career exploration reports. These are a great way to allow districts, schools, teachers, counselors to view data at the district, building, classroom, and individual student levels as well. And then I know Kimberly talked about the portfolio piece. So everything the students do are housed in a virtual portfolio. All their projects within Defined Learning or Defined Careers, they have the ability to upload specifics to their portfolio as well as their resume builder and share that out with industry partners. So at this point, I'm going to pass it back over to Andy to address any questions that we may have in the chat, but thank you for letting me share.
Oh, thanks for that great overview, Nikki. And also, I have a number of questions for you, Dr. Sheppard. Before I ask you the first one, though, I just wanted to ask you, from me, was there anything that you did not see that you were hoping that we would share with the audience today from Nikki's overview, or is there anything in particular that really resonates with you that you just wanted to make mention of to our audience? Oh, and you are on mute.
I was going to say, no, I think Nikki did a phenomenal job at covering the essentials with this. I think that was fantastic overview. And I think the biggest thing is the report. So coming from a district perspective, the reports are really important for me, and not just at the high level, but also the individual. So if I'm talking to a student, I want to know what's going on. This gives me a really quick way to do that. So really appreciate that, Nikki. Great job.
Thanks again, Nikki. And so I'm going to have this screen up as a placeholder before we get to the end of our presentation. But first question, Dr. Sheppard, just maybe you wouldn't comment, why was it important to have a custom journey through the content for Griffin-Spalding? That's part one of that question. I'll stop at that.
Okay. And custom journey. I think when we were looking at Defined, we were really very happy with what we saw initially. And the custom component came in with that top Top State for Talent requirements, we wanted to make sure that we were offering something for our students that was not just checking another box. So when you guys were able to put all of that in one location, we could have sifted and gone through, but to have everything in one space for our teachers, that was huge. I think that was just such an easy thing for us to be able to take back to our schools, and they're not having to try to figure out a lot of different components, and not us saying, go to this page and go to this section. We don't have to do that. Everything is right there in that one spot for our teachers.
Thank you for sharing that. So a big advantage, for teachers. And of course, there was another question about how do you see this supporting teacher implementation? I think you've kind of already answered that just about some of the comments you share. But anything else you would like to share about just teacher implementation in general and how this will make it perhaps a little easier?
So we're going to be able to have some training in the fall for our new teachers, especially, and even our teachers that have been here, but to be able to offer that to them, that's going to be a great advantage for us. And the platform is very smooth and easy. And so it's not a challenging piece for them. And that's what we found already from the teachers, is they've said, this is a lot easier. So they're really grateful for that. So it's just a nice, smooth transition for our teachers. So I would say, yes, we have that option and that opportunity for the teachers to have training. But so far, the teachers it's been very easy.
Thank you, Dr. Sheppard. And so you've worked with the Defined team to put together content, a custom journey over a variety of different grade levels. Is this something you see as evolving over time, taking student feedback, taking teacher feedback, or are you kind of looking at this as a finished product for next year?
I would say for next year, this would be a finished product. I would say that looking forward to the future, though, if there's some additions or changes, whether it's from the state level or whether it's from our teachers, and looking at it from this would really be helpful if we could do this, then we could absolutely have that conversation. And it's just been very easy to talk to the team and work with them. So I've been really appreciative of that as well.
How about just expectations or maybe plans or expectations for students interacting with the content? So it could be from how often, it could be, or just comment on what your overall expectations are from a student lens.
So it really does depend on the student. And so we would see that in a number of ways. For middle school, depending upon the student, if they are taking a CTAE pathway class, which of course we hope that they are, then they will be using this in their CTAE classrooms. If they are not taking a CTAE class, then for a sixth grader, they're probably going to use this platform maybe twice a year for that career interest survey and then the other requirements that we have for Top State for Talent. But for our high school students, we would definitely have them in, and the majority of our students are in some type of CTAE pathway. So they will be using those. If they're not, again, similar to that, they would be using it several times a year for those requirements for the Top State for Talent. But then our students that are in work-based learning, they're going to be using it for a whole nother reason. And so they're going to be looking at it from that you saw the job board. And so the students will be able to go in and actually go through the process of practicing for an application. But then there's also the virtual job shadow. And that was, and I think, Nikki, is it a virtual job shadow or is it virtual job?
So for the virtual internship?
Virtual internship. I apologize. I knew that wasn't the right one. So virtual internship has been fantastic. And our students, we're really excited about using this because it gives them the practice of what is it like to onboard? What are some of the soft skills that I need? And so there's projects in there that really walk them through. And the expectation is before a student will be able to go to a work-based learning site, they need to prove that they are a student that's capable of doing some of these components. And we just want to make sure that we are sending out our students prepared, but also for our business partners, we want to have that strong business partnership with our various businesses in the community and to say we're making sure that our students are prepared for unit. And there's been some conversation about what do we need to do differently, and some of those things were soft skills. So this will be some ways that we can really work with students on that level and make sure that having those conversations, you didn't really test well in here. So then what is it that we need to do? And what could you have said differently instead of for this situation? So really getting that practice. But the mock interviews are another great component. And for the work-based learning students or for any of our students, but the work-based learning component will be fantastic. Giving them some opportunities in addition to mock interviews to get some feedback. And when I've done the mock interview virtually, both with a good interview and a bad interview, and both I got great feedback. So I was really appreciative of that for our students.
So speaking of that, mock interviews, local companies, if I'm not mistaken, you and Nikki have already talked about putting some local companies into the mock interview board. Am I correct on that?
I don't know that we've necessarily had a deep conversation about it, but I'm definitely open to it, and that would be fantastic to be able to have that.
Fantastic. So, okay, so now maybe let's talk about the challenges. So, what do you see as perhaps your biggest challenge looking ahead to next year, and perhaps some of the strategies around overcoming those challenges?
I think with anything, it really comes down to implementation and making sure that it's implemented the way that we would hope that it would be. It's not just, like I said, checking a box. So making sure that the teachers understand that this is a resource that's really going to provide their students with opportunities to advance, whether that is towards college and later on careers or careers as soon as they're graduating. So we just want to make sure that that is communicated well. And I think that's going to happen through multiple areas. And so I've been so appreciative of our team. And we have our counseling coordinator is also on the team. So she's been super supportive. We've got multiple people from district that have been very supportive in making sure. So having that conversation in multiple areas and making sure that everybody understands the why of why we're doing this. Not just to check a box, but really and truly to make sure that our students are supportive. I think that's been the biggest thing. We've tried several things in the last couple of years. And so this really, I'm excited about the Top State for Talent because it really makes sure that the emphasis is on what's important for us, making sure our students are college and career ready.
I love that. It's not just checking a box. It really is an approach and really helping students succeed and plan for success. So let me segue over to this one because you've gone through this very deeply. You've worked with our team to organize content in such a way for a variety of 6 through 12 at this point, potentially plans for K through 5 down the road. What advice do you have for your colleagues across the state as they approach this work next year?
If you haven't taken a look at the defined curriculum, go ahead and jump in and just see what's available and then making sure you're coming up with that plan. So if you haven't come up with a plan yet, take a look at what is available for this because for us, there's a plan in place and I'm excited to have that. And then also, if you've got questions, reach out to this team. They've been fantastic to work with, and I don't mind answering questions either, but this team is a great one. So I've really been appreciative of that.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I want to, of course, take time to thank you for spending time with us today. Are there any other thoughts, any other comments that anything we haven't asked you about yet, Dr. Sheppard, that you wanted to make sure that you shared with both the audience, both the audience that are with us today and those that will be sending a copy of this webinar to?
I would say we've covered so much, but I would say just making sure to take a look at what's available. There's lots of options out there, and I know that. And it did take us some time to go through, but when we were able to really sit down with not only the curriculum with Defined, but just their team, it was just such a seamless process for us. And so I was really grateful. But looking at what all is offered, that there would be a plan in place for your district that would be smooth and seamless to start. I think that's huge.
Well, thank you for sharing that. Nikki, any other comments that you wanted to make prior to my closing remarks?
No, just very excited to be working with Griffin-Spalding and Dr. Sheppard. I will say the same back to you. It's been wonderful working with you, and we're just very excited to make your, vision come to life. And hopefully this can help many other Georgia folks that are in need of ways to support with these new initiatives. So anybody that's interested, feel free to reach out to myself or Dr. Sheppard at any time. You can scan the QR code. It'll give you more information about Defined Learning. But just thank you everyone for joining us.
And just in closing, I just want to again thank you, Dr. Sheppard, for your leadership. Your work with our team will obviously inform our work throughout the state. It will help us, help us get a jump start on some of the work with other districts, and we can't thank you enough for not only your work with us, but for spending time with us today and allowing us to share your wisdom with all the folks out there in Georgia. So I want to thank you, and again, thank you to the audience. Thank you for your questions. And again, everyone will receive a copy of this, and we hope you all have a wonderful day and close to the school year. Thanks again, everyone.